What if I told you the biggest treasures of life live just past the place where fear tells you to stop? This is Ethan's story of a bridge, a storm inside him, and a step that changed everything. Ethan Harper had always been a man of routines. Up at 6 a.m., coffee at the same corner cafe, work at the same desk in a downtown insurance office, dinner alone at 7 p.m., sleep at 10 p.m. Life was predictable, and that's how he liked it. But beneath the calm, Ethan carried something he rarely admitted to anyone: a quiet, crippling fear of change. He called it playing safe. The truth? He was letting fear build invisible walls around his life. One Tuesday morning, Ethan received a phone call from his younger sister, Claire. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling, "Dad's gone." The words hit like cold water. Their father, Thomas Harper, a retired park ranger in Oregon, had died suddenly of a heart attack. "Come home," Claire whispered. Ethan hadn't been back to his hometown in years. It was a small place tucked between pine-covered hills and rivers that shimmered under the sun. Going back meant memories, and facing something he'd avoided for decades. Because just beyond that town was the Hamilton Bridge, a long, high wooden bridge strung over a roaring gorge. Ethan had been terrified of it ever since he was 12, when he froze halfway across during a hiking trip with his father. He never crossed it again. 3 days later, Ethan found himself in the small Oregon church where they held the funeral. Familiar faces offered hugs and condolences, but Ethan's eyes kept wandering to the tall window where the hills loomed in the distance. After the service, Claire approached him. "Dad left you something," she said, handing him an envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper in his father's handwriting. "Ethan, life's biggest treasures live on the other side of fear. If you want to understand me, and maybe yourself, cross the bridge." Ethan's chest tightened. The Hamilton Bridge. That bridge had haunted him for 25 years, not just in his dreams, but in the way he avoided challenges, risks, and anything unpredictable. The dare. The next morning, Ethan drove out toward the national park. The air smelled of pine and damp earth, and mist curled through the trees. The closer he got, the heavier his chest felt. When he reached the trailhead, a park ranger greeted him, a young woman named Ree. She wore a green uniform and a friendly smile. "Headed to Hamilton Bridge?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. "Yeah, I think so. Fog's rolling in," Riley said, glancing at the sky. "Visibility will be low. Makes the crossing interesting." Ethan almost turned back right there. Fog meant he wouldn't even be able to see the other side. But something in his father's note and the finality of knowing he'd never get to speak to him again pushed him forward. The trail narrowed as Ethan hiked. His sneakers crunched on damp gravel. The sound of rushing water grew louder until he saw it. The bridge. It stretched out into the fog, wooden planks slick with moisture, cables swaying gently in the wind. The gorge below roared like an angry beast. He stepped onto the first plank. Immediately, his heartbeat kicked into overdrive. His palms were sweating. Every instinct screamed, "Go back." But then a memory hit him. His father's voice when he was a kid. "Fear's a liar, Ethan. It'll tell you the worst story it can imagine. And if you believe it, you'll never live the real one." He took another step. Then another. Halfway across, the fog thickened until he could barely see 2 steps ahead. The bridge creaked beneath him. His breath came fast, shallow. Ethan stopped, gripping the rope rail so hard his knuckles turned white. His mind was shouting every what if it could think of. What if the bridge breaks? What if you slip? What if you can't do it? Then another memory surfaced. The hiking trip when he froze as a boy. He remembered his father walking back to him, kneeling down and saying, "You don't have to stop being scared to move forward. You just have to move scared." So Ethan did. One plank, then another. Every step. The fear screamed, but so did something else, something stronger. The desire not to let this moment pass him by. Finally, after what felt like an hour, his sneakers hit solid ground. The fog parted slightly, revealing the other side of the gorge, and a view so breathtaking he stopped in his tracks. Golden sunlight streamed through the clouds, lighting up the trees. The river sparkled far below, wild and untamed. The air was crisp, alive. Ethan realized his chest no longer felt tight. The fear hadn't vanished, but it had been tamed. And standing there, he understood something. The bridge hadn't been the problem. The fog hadn't been the problem. The real barrier had been the story fear told him, that he couldn't do it. On a rock near the trail, he spotted a small metal box with a note inside, written years ago, signed Thomas Harper. "If you're reading this, you made it. I knew you could. Now remember, in life, every worthwhile thing lives just past the place you almost turned back. Keep crossing." Ethan sat on that rock for a long time, the sound of the river in his ears, and made a silent promise. Fear would no longer dictate the size of his life. When he got back to town, Ethan booked a rock climbing trip with Claire, something they'd both been too busy to try before. He said yes to a speaking opportunity at work that he'd been dodging for years. He even signed up for a painting class, despite having zero skill. Every time fear whispered, "Don't," he thought of that foggy bridge and took the step anyway. Moral: fear never really goes away, but it loses its power when you walk toward it. The most beautiful parts of life often live just past the point you want to turn back. We all have our own Hamilton Bridge, that one thing we've been too scared to face. What's yours? And if you took just one step toward it today, what could change in your life? If you liked this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.